Hi everyone, my name is Aviel. I'm Israel Super Guy from here, from the land of the Messiah. And the topic for today is the Passover. Yes, we are now celebrating our exit, our deliverance, our freedom from Egypt. Once again, if this is the first time that you are visiting our channel, consider to subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Every week, we show different places from around the land of the Messiah, as well the festivals, traditions regarding the land of Israel, as well known as the land of the Messiah. Passover. What is this all about? Are we keeping Passover today the same way it was celebrated in the time of Yeshua, Jesus? Is it the time of Yeshua also celebrated as it was celebrated when we came out of Egypt? Well, stay tuned. We're going to see different passages as well. I want to tell you that this video has a second part because we are going to explore on the next video what happened after the last meal with Yeshua and his disciples. So don't go away. So what is it exactly that we are to keep this feast? For how long? And who is to keep this holiday? Well, we go for that to the book of Leviticus, chapters 23, verses 5 to 8. The Lord Passover began on the twilight of the 14th day of the first month. On the 50th day of that month, the Lord festival of Unleavened Bread began. Yes, my friend, it is not one day holiday, it's actually two holidays, the Passover and unleavened bread, meaning bread with no yeast. That's why our festival lasts for 8 days. Now I'm just going to leave you the passage there so you can continue reading. If you are familiar with the story of the Hebrew who went from ancient Canaan down into Egypt, well, we flourished, we grew up. Joseph saved us from starvation. Probably you've seen the movie The Ten Commandments, or the anime The Prince of Egypt. So we are celebrating our freedom. Yes, because at one point we were slaves in Egypt. There was a pharaoh who didn't know who Joseph was. A liberator was sent years later. Yes, you are correct. I'm talking about Moses, who took us out of Egypt by the hands of God into the desert. A trip from Egypt to ancient Canaan was only a few weeks. But why then it took us 40 long years? Well, it is being said that it was easier for God to take us out of Egypt with all the wonderful miracles that our forefathers experienced to take Egypt out of our heart. Yes, we complain, we murmur, we have no food, we have no water, we don't want Moses. Worst of all, we worship a golden calf. I've been teaching in the other side of my channel in Spanish the different portion of the we call the Pæsaḥ and how the Israelite, the Hebrew, worship a golden calf. Well, I ask you, what kind of golden calf do you think people are worshiping today? Perhaps the government, philosophy, religion, fame, money, any kind of addiction. So we have to tear that thing down because we cannot have any other God before the God of the universe. After our journey of 40 years into the desert, finally we made it into the promised land. And although we were commanded to celebrate this festival for 8 days, remember that all these biblical feasts are typological, meaning it's pointing toward someone. Who is that? We're going to see it in a moment. Now, perhaps, depending which part of the world you are watching us from, And please let us know in the comments below, where are you watching us from? Maybe you are familiar with how is the holiday kept today. Perhaps you have seen something similar as this. Well, let me tell you something. The way we celebrate Passover today certainly is not the same as it was kept in the first century, meaning 2,000 years ago. And although we do not have all the details of how the Passover was kept in the time of the temple, meaning in the first century before it was destroyed by the Roman, it was different from when we were in the desert, when we were having our first temple, which was built by Solomon. Perhaps you have seen a plate like this with a bun of a lamb, an egg. What is number 3? Number 3 is hordish, onion, and charotze. That's the Hebrew word. It's kind of hard to translate. Charotze is a mix of dates and nuts and parsley. But there are 3 main ingredients which the Bible commands us to eat during the Passover: the lamb, the unleavened bread, and bitter herb. Anything else that you see here was added century after the second temple was destroyed. So my focus on this short video is not how it's kept today. My focus is the Lamb of God who take away the sin of the world. This is exactly what John, not far from here, in the Jordan River, said when he saw his cousin. But when he saw his cousin, he didn't say, "Hey, what's up, man? How are you doing?" Although they were related, this is not how he addressed Yeshua. What did he say to everyone who was around him? Said, "Look, the Lamb of God who take away sin of the world." Yes, we were commanded to eat a roasted lamb, and that lamb was typifying the one that was to come. And how grateful we are today, and the believer who came before us, and the one who are coming after us, that the Lamb of God came at the right time. Perhaps you are familiar with this type of celebration, right? Well, although he was a genius, Michelangelo, he was with no doubt, and no one can ever take that away from him. This is one of the most famous paintings in the world. However, although he was a genius, he got everything wrong. Let me show you why. Well, first of all, you have Jesus here in the center, which was not a custom at that time. The table was not for that time period either. During Passover, we are commanded not to eat leaven, meaning bread. So look at the loaf of bread here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Wrong. Look at the windows. Daylight. We celebrate our Passover at night. So, Michelangelo, thank you very much for your painting. Beautiful. But you got everything wrong. So, based on history and archaeology and the hint that we see in the gospel, we can more or less reconstruct the setting of the Last Supper. Something like this. So, depending on the gospel, we're not going to get out into the debate whether Yeshua and his disciples were actually having a Passover meal. or a regular meal. Because when you read through the gospel, what we call the synoptic gospel, it seems to be that it's a Passover meal. But if you read John, it seems to be that it was a regular meal. Be it as it may. Why? Because this is what Paul actually tells us. And I'm going back to the picture in a moment. 1 Corinthians 5:7, Paul is writing to the Corinthians. Get rid of all the yeast. Yeast represented sin, so that you be a new unleavened batch, as you really are. For Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. So the point here is that those thousands of tens of thousands of lambs that were sacrificed in the temple, as well in the tabernacle, they were pointing toward the Lamb of God. They were all pointing to the Messiah, Yeshua. Now, in this painting, first of all, let's see the type of table, which was custom at that time. It's called a triclinium. You see, it's not high. People are sitting in cushions, something like this, so you have an idea. Okay, cushions, very, very low. The main figure is not centered in the middle. Let me get Angelo's painting. Look at it. The contrast, very, very different. The master of the ceremony was sitting on the side. His best men, one on the right and one on the left. Right? Like we see here. Yeshua, Jesus, Judas on the left, and John on the right. Now, according to the description of the gospel, at least 3 disciples, we can know where they were sitting. We know John because he himself said that he leaned his head on Jesus' chest. Obviously, he has to be sitting right beside him. Judas had to be right beside him too. Why is that? Well, remember the passage. That the one I gave and put his hand on the bone, so he has to be close, correct? And the third one is Peter on the other extreme. Again, different angle. So Jesus is in the master of ceremony here. His best man will be right, left, and Peter in front. Why is that? Well, when Jesus said, one of you is going to betray me, and everybody started asking, is it me? Or is it you? Or is it you? Peter, with his eye, and so cultured, it seems to be was the same back then. We cannot speak without eye, making sign, like ask him who is going to betray him. So he had to be on a direct line with Peter. Perhaps not necessarily, he could have been sitting here, but there is another clue in the gospel which tells us where Peter was sitting. Remember that after the meal, after they're done, he get up and start washing their feet. Which, by the way, this is something that was done by slave. Never, ever done by the master of ceremony. That tells you something. Because after he goes around, no one said a thing until he gets to Peter. He said, "No, Lord, you're not gonna do this to me. God forbid." Correct? But Jesus said, if I don't do this, you are no part of this. So do we assume then the Peter, was sitting on the other side? This is not written in stone, This is a conjecture. And what is important, what it was established on that evening. Because he tells them, if I being the master and I wash your feet, do this to one another. We are to serve one another. What a lesson. Tremendous that the Master taught us how to serve one another, that no one is above the other. Well, I told you that there was a difference between this painting and Michelangelo. Again, another contrast. Date here is in the evening. All right. Now, perhaps you've seen many movies or documentary about the famous chalice, the cup, right? Which is interesting. It's only one cup is mentioned. Today, we use 5. Once again, these were introduced much later. I told you, 3 elements must be present. Lamb. What is the other one? Yes, you got it right. Bitter herb. And the third one, which is very important, it lasts 7 days, unleavened bread. No mention of wine whatsoever. This was added later. There's nothing wrong. These are Jewish tradition. These are post-biblical Jewish tradition. I'm not saying now you go and have a Seder meal and imitate exactly how the Jewish people are doing this. No, I'm not saying this. Yes, I know that there's a new trend that I'm talking about Gentile, Christian, outside of the land of Israel, trying to celebrate all these feasts, which, by the way, no one is actually doing exactly how it was done in the time of Jesus, or in the time when the temple was standing. No one, not even in Judaism. As I said, and as we saw on the picture, all these items were added much later. Well, if you're in the land of Israel and someone invites you, by all means. That's not the point for Christians, believers of Yeshua, to be doing exactly all the feast. I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is that the focus is Yeshua, that we are remembering what he did for us. Yes, I know that you physically were not in Egypt. And metaphorically speaking, Egypt is symbolically like the world. And Yeshua, if you have put your faith in him, he has taken you out of Egypt. That's what it's all about. It's not for Christian now. I know it's a new trend. It's a new fashion for some Christian groups that are lacking identity. No, we are celebrating. Let's go back to the root. No, I'm not saying that. When we say let's go back to the root, if you let us learn from what it was done before, but it doesn't mean that you have to now celebrate. And tell you something, in Judaism, no one is in lamb because there is no temple. However, there's a different group today. The only people on earth who are actually eating a roasted lamb on a different day, because they follow a different calendar, are the Samaritan. Do you know that? These people are the only one who are doing exactly as it was commanded in the book of Leviticus. Well, if you would like me to do a video on the Samaritan, who are they, where they came from, where are they today, so let me know in the comments below. So that is not the point. The point is what Paul says. The point is not to do exactly like the Jewish people are doing today. These are Jewish custom. All the additional thing added into the Jewish holiday are tradition that came much later. That's not the point. The point is what Paul said: get rid of all the old yeast. Get rid of the sin within you. Because, brothers and sisters, you will do nothing if you keep all this holiday, but if you still living in sin and being absolutely nothing. That's not the point of this video. That's not what I'm trying to convey. My focus is the Lamb of God that we celebrate today. As Jewish people, we celebrate that we came out of Egypt. But it's Messiah, it's not in me. That celebration is in vain. What do I mean by that? Because there's no sacrifice done anymore in the temple. There's no more temple. Okay? Now, you may ask, well, that is a very beautiful picture that I had in the background. I told you this is a 2-part video. What happened then? After Jesus sat with his disciple and have his last meal with them. And I mentioned about this. Okay? Now, you've seen it in movies. Well, this is actually one documentary, the lost chalice of Christ. And even, science fiction novels were created about it. Well, forget about what you've seen. Whatever cup Yeshua was using was either something similar to this, which was made of stone when he took the cup, or simply perhaps something as this, either made of clay, perhaps not, because someone will argue, no, we don't think it was okay. It's either clay or stone, but nothing made of gold, certainly with precious stone or anything like that. All right, my friend. So I really hope that these short videos that I'm creating about the land of Israel and the festival is a blessing for you. If it's so, please consider to subscribe. You do that a very big one. If you do click, and if you have questions, even if you disagree with me or if you have more suggestions, please let us know in the comments below. As well, I want to invite you to visit our website. It's up there, israelsuperguide.com, as well as to our shop, where you're going to find items, like this, a map with all the pictures, except for the black and white that you will see there. They were not taken by me, but everything else, like the t-shirt and the posters and all the accessories, all those pictures were taken by me. As well, you can get both of my book, The Land of the Messiah, Jerusalem of Gold, written, photographed, edited by me. By doing so, you help us a lot to continue this video here in the land of the Messiah. So one more time, my name is Aviv. I'm Israel Super Guy from the land of the Messiah, and I hope to see you in the next video. Remember, this is a 2-part video. Chag Sameach, and everyone, like Paul says, get rid of the old yeast. Shalom.